You already know the shade garden classics: clivias, camellias, hellebores, gorgeous but predictable. What if I told you that there were over a dozen lesser-known shade-loving flowers that can bring shaded areas of your garden or even a courtyard to life? Stick around and we'll reveal 15 extraordinary flowering plants that thrive in the shade and outshine the usual suspects. The first is Hypericum, Rowallane. It flowers best in full sun, but it still blooms really well in part shade with these wonderful golden yellow flowers. Disporum cantoniense, commonly called Chinese fairy bells, Canton fairy bells, or Canton's Disporum. This one grows and flowers in part to full shade. It thrives in woodland settings. This is Astrantia Buckland, one of the masterworts, and it's a wonderful plant. It's sterile, so you shouldn't get any self-seeding from it. It flowers from spring right into summer. You can deadhead it for a second flush of flowers. It grows well in morning sun with light afternoon shade. It's a really worthwhile plant for a shade garden. This is Dodecatheon, meadia, and it's commonly called shooting stars. It's a little woodland or grassland plant, and it flowers well in light shade. Epimediums, and this one is Epimedium pink champagne, but there are lots of others. They flower well in dappled shade to full shade, even tolerating dry shade. Rhododendron kuisianum album performs well in light to medium shade, but really dense shade will reduce flowering a little. Dicentra formosa, this one's commonly called the Western bleeding heart or Pacific bleeding heart. This is a shade-loving perennial. Reasonably low growing, it flowers freely in partial to full shade. Myosotis sylvatica compacta. It tolerates both sun and shade. It flowers well under trees or in dappled light. Thalictrum, aquilegifolium, tolerates full to partial shade and blooms richly in these conditions. Dicentra formosa, lang trees, flowers in full to partial or even full shade. Best flowers in moist shade. There are a number of geraniums that will flower well in part shade or dappled shade, and this is one of them. Geranium maderense, commonly called the giant herb robert, and it is a giant. It'll get to nearly 1 metre in height, but there are other geraniums that are worth considering as well, including this one, Geranium macrorrhizum, Bevan's variety. It thrives and flowers in partial to full shade, ideal for dry shaded areas. Pacific Coast iris. Now these are an iris that prefer dappled shade to light shade. Flower will decrease in deep shade, but these are a great little plant for light shade. Leucothoe fontanesiana nana is called the dwarf doghobble and sometimes the drooping Leucothoe. This is a low-growing variety. It grows and flowers in full to partial shade, and it's also valued for the foliage. This is an evergreen shrub. Tyrella cordifolia, commonly called the foam flower, or heartleaf foam flower. Excellent flowering in shade or dappled light, ideal for those woodland gardens. Styloforum diphyllum is called the celandine poppy or wood poppy. This one performs well in full to part shade. Bright yellow blooms appear even in dense shade. Elysium mexicanum is called the Mexican anise tree or star anise shrub. Flowers best in light shade. Too much shade will reduce flowering a little bit, but in light shade it's a brilliant little plant and it's evergreen. Tyrella. Now these prefer full to partial shade. They bloom well in cool, moist shaded areas, and they have great foliage as well. Geranium fame is called the dusky cranesbill or morning widow. Flowers reliably in deep shade and beneath trees. And of course, trilliums. These are a woodland plant, and we've got a separate video on how to grow these little beauties. Subscribe to the YouTube channel for regular updates on a whole range of garden plants, including ornamentals like these, as well as ideas on growing vegetables, hedging plants, pruning, and in fact, everything to do with gardening.